I got a new job here with an inverter generator, one of these suitcases and generators. I've never seen one like this. It's probably like a Walmart brand or something. The guy brought it over and said that it wouldn't start anymore. Ran fine last year. He had an electric outage, ran fine, and I guess he tried to start it maybe this year and it wouldn't start. The first thing you should do when you're diagnosing a no start is take off the air filter, which I've already done. Spray it with some starter fluid. These air filters are really difficult because it has to travel up. So in order to spray starter fluid, you have to spray it up, and it just doesn't work very well. So I disassembled the air filter housing, just took that off. And all you had to do was unscrew these two bolts, take that hose off, put the two bolts back on, and then I can spray starter fluid right in there. Took 2 or 3 pulls, maybe 4 pulls, and it started to chug, chug, chug. And I did it again, sprayed some more in there, chug, 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 and it started and ran. I ran the angle grinder right there. I ran it twice, turned it on high and low, doesn't sputter, doesn't do anything. I shut it off, started again because I wanted to see if it would start hot, and it started first pull. So what I'm doing now is I'm letting it cool down. I want to see if we can get it to start again after it's cooled down. But in the meantime, I thought I would do some work on it, kind of tune it up a little bit. You should never start an engine that you haven't looked into before without checking the oil. So as you can see, I'm putting a sock here because first thing I noticed was it's over full with black, nearly tar color oil. Look how terrible that is. I don't even know if that's oil. I don't know what it is. And there is a smell to it. So I'm going to change the oil, take a look at the spark plug, see if the one I have will fit it. If it does, I'll just put it on. If it doesn't, then I'll clean the one that's in it. I'm not going to spend a lot of money in it because I do think the guy has a little bit concerned about the cost. When you're changing the oil, try not to overfill it. Definitely don't underfill it, but try not to overfill it. Just be patient, check it several times with your dipstick and see where you're at. Overfilling just makes it smoke, and it's harder on the components inside the engine. So we still got about halfway to go. That's full. Okay, so now we're going to take out the spark plug. So the spark plug is down here, and I fortunately have a spark plug wrench. This comes with the generator when you buy one, at least the Champions do. So it's loose. Look at that. Didn't require any pressure to open it. That could be a problem. Just as I suspected, it's fairly carboned up. So before we put the spark plug in, I want to gap it, check the gap, make sure it's okay. So the gap should be between 30 and 35 thousandths. So that's 0.030 and 0.035. And so what we're going to do, and that's 30 thousandths right there, and you can see it doesn't fit. So we need to open that up a little bit. Okay, so now 30 thousandths goes in it, but 35 shouldn't, and it does not. So let's put it in there and see what happens. Okay, one other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drain the gas. That way I know it's got a fresh tank, or at least some fresh gas in it. Hard telling how long the gas has been sitting in this. Now, the nice thing about these generators is it has a drain valve on the carburetor. So right here, all you got to do is loosen this up and it'll drain right into whatever you put it into. And that's all there is to draining the gas tank on a suitcase generator. Everyone I've seen has one like this. So there's an on-off switch on the other side here. So that's off. That shuts off the gas to the carburetor and shuts off the generator. You turn it on, that turns the flow back on. Okay, so there's a gas filter right there. That's a gas filter on some of these generators. It's a little bit dirty, so these are cleanable. Okay, so we'll just use the gas that's coming out of it to kind of clean it up. Just put a splash of seafoam in it. It's supposed to be a cap full for every gallon, but I'm not going to put a full gallon of gas in it, so I'm just going to put a little bit in there, because that, if there's anything in the carburetor, this might help break it loose. Let it sit overnight. The downside to that is it could break something loose and jam it up even worse. But then that just tells you that your carburetor was dirty and needed to be cleaned anyways. So we'll put the gas filter back in. All right, so let's give it a shot and see if it'll start without any starting fluid. One pull. That's all it took. So whatever the problem was appears to have been resolved. So I'm going to ramp up the RPMs. Now I'm going to run the angle grinder. Now what I'm going to do is turn down the RPM and see if it can run the angle grinder on low and accelerate on its own. So I'm going to let that run for 5 minutes, then we'll shut it off and see if it'll start when it's hot. And now I'm going to turn the knob back on, but I'm not going to put it on choke. I'm going to see if we can start it in 1 to 2 pulls. Okay, so now we're going to reassemble it. Now I'm not going to show you this, but what I'm going to do here, this is a foam air filter. And I just wash these in soap and water. Dawn dishwashing, soap and water. Okay, since you didn't get to see me disassemble it, I'm gonna assemble it back on camera. That way you get an idea how it was done. So remember, I gotta put a hose from the air filter housing to the carburetor. So these nuts hold the carburetor and that housing on. So I put these nuts back on just to hold the carburetor on so we can run our test. So now I'm going to take it off. So we're going to put this bottom piece into the air filter housing. Slide that piece into the carburetor. And we'll put the nuts back on. Also, we need to reassemble this hose here. So I had to take the front cover off to get where I could reach the carburetor. So we're going to put the air filter back on. Now you can put a little dab of oil on that, put it in a plastic bag and rub it around. Problem with that is it collects more dirt that way, which is good, but if you don't check your air filter more frequently, it can clog up and cause issues. So if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where I was working on a tiller. So I hope I can inspire you to take it one step at a time when you're living your dreams. Thanks for watching.